Welcome to the Fourten podcast. Today we didn't have any technical difficulties, thankfully. And as always, I'm your host Gio. With me is Noah, and hopefully joining us here shortly is going to be Alfred, where all three of us will finally be back to talk about the latest and greatest of what's going on in soccer here in the DMV. Noah, how are you doing today, buddy?
It's knockout time, quarterfinal action upon us. I'm doing well. As always, I'm going to say I'm excited for some local footy.
Yeah, I mean, it's been fun. I mean, it's been some shockers, there's been some fun ones, but we'll definitely dive here and talk about everything. But obviously, before we dive in, if you're new, welcome. If you're returning, we appreciate you. But everyone, if you're not already, make sure you hit that subscribe button, hit that like, comment, bell noti, comment, engage. Because this weekend we will be having all the quarterfinals on the MDMV Cup here on DMV Sports Media. Unfortunately, we will not be covering the Morton Cups, but we will have all the quarterfinals for the DMV. Do you want to kind of run down what games those are for those that don't know or
Yeah,
aren't watching or aren't
absolutely.
following our social for some reason?
You're talking about the games that are coming up, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah,
Just to lay it out so they know.
yeah, absolutely. So the good news is this week we will be covering all four matchups, and those matchups are in Maryland. Ristosi will host Orange at 11 a.m. Get you live on the channel at 1 p.m. Christos will be hosting Esperion. And then up in Virginia in the late afternoon, evening time, 5 p.m., we'll see Steel Pulse travel up to face Los Toros, who will host. And then at 7 p.m., it's Aegean Hawks hosting the away side Bowleys Athletic. So really looking forward to seeing those. Big shout out to our patrons who are making the live streams possible this week. And that is Bowleys Athletic, Esperion, Steel Pulse, Ristosi. We really appreciate the and Los Toros, excuse me. So we really appreciate your support, making these live streams possible and supporting local footy, not just with words, but also with, action. So thank you.
Yeah, we appreciate it because without you guys, it'd be really hard to do the coverage. So we appreciate it. We definitely appreciate it. But we'll talk about those matches here shortly in a minute. I kind of want to talk about and recap what was this past Sunday because this past Sunday was full of it wasn't all the games because we talked about and saw some of the games earlier the week, but let's talk about the games that happened this Sunday. There were a total of four games because one of them was a forfeit, right? We'll just rip the band aid. Team United and Christos was a forfeit on the behalf of Team United. Understood completely why. You're out of the tournament. You don't want to get that. You don't want the smoke, right? Like you're just moving on. Keep on pushing. But we did have four other games. We did talk about stream. We did we stream all the games? I think we did stream all the games, right?
So the only game we didn't stream, the of Maryland, that was
Bullies.
probably the best game, which was Bowleys and Beer Hall. In truth, good for the teams that advanced. They showed us something, and no slight. I mean, Rastosi and Steel Pulse did everything you could wonder, but from a neutral perspective, not the most exciting games. It was
Correct.
absolutely kind of blowout in both of the early games. It was a little different down in Virginia, actually a lot different. We had a nail biter. Congrats to Esperion who put on an absolute show. We'll get into that, I'm sure later on. But yeah, not super close. The games we did cover at least on Sunday morning.
Le- let's start with Steel Pulse versus Patuxent, right? Steel Pulse versus Patuxent obviously sealed the deal for Steel Pulse to move on to the quarterfinals. Patuxent got knocked out. It was a 8-2 result for Steel Pulse. But I will put a little note there that in the first half, it looked a lot closer. It looked a lot closer. And then the second half, Steel Pulse just had an awakening and they just ran with it. What was your reaction to this game?
Yeah, so I mean, like you mentioned, it wasn't, from the get-go, it looked like we might have a game on our hands. There was a red card, and I think even if there weren't that red card, Steel Pulse, they came to play. They knew the seriousness, and I got to give them some credit. We've been asking questions of Steel Pulse. Are they for real? Are they going to capture and recapture their form? And we haven't answered all those questions yet. We won't until we see a higher echelon sort of opponent. But to be fair, they took care of business in a big way. They had, enough subs. They had the caliber of players. They had the return of Yusuf Nasiri, amongst a few others. So, got to give them credit where credit is due. And I think red card or not, they're winning that game. But they they'll be tested in the next round.
Yeah, and that's obviously we're going to talk about Steel Pulse in the next round, but I mean, Steel we said it. If Steel Pulse wants to advance and they want to become Steel Pulse of old, they have to bring their best team, and I think they brought some of that in this Patuxent game. I mean, Yusuf, without a doubt, you cannot understate how important he is to that team,
Yeah.
and from years ago to now, like he is still very much a big part of that heart that is Steel Pulse. So, huge win for Steel Pulse. They move forward. They are going to face, as you mentioned earlier, they are going to head up to Virginia and face Los Toros, which we'll talk about Los Toros here in a moment, or that matchup here in a moment. But I want to stay on this Sunday because this Sunday was another lopsided matchup between Ristosi and Baltimore Kickers, which Ristosi won 6-0, which was we knew that was going to be a tough game for Baltimore Kickers, just seeing how Ristosi has been playing. But that meant Ristosi ended the group stages with all three wins with a 17-4 goal differential. Insane.
Yeah.
Insane. What was your take on this game?
To be honest, this was exactly what I expected. Ristosi have already proven themselves, worthy. They've proven themselves one of the favorites to return as the incumbent champions. So really, no surprises there. Obviously, we'll see how that shakes out against tougher opposition. The Kickers, they're just not there yet. They're a historic team. They're a little bit rebuilding, but they weren't ready for the likes of Ristosi, especially since they'd already been eliminated.
Right, right. Alfred, we are so excited you're here, man. We are super
Welcome.
stoked you're here. We've been waiting for the trio to get back together, man.
Somewhere
Come
out
on now.
there, Abraham Ubeda is waiting to type, Alfred, you're so unprepared.
I'm so sorry, guys. Yeah, I was a little late, but I'm here now. So
No, no
yeah,
worries.
how many sessions have I missed? Is it three or two?
I think only two, right? I think
Yeah,
only
yeah, I
two. I
missed a
think only
lot.
two. Don't shoot yourself short. You've been here. You've been here. It's only been two, all right? And it's
Yes,
just been
yeah.
life happens, right? It is what it is. But Alfred, we were talking about this Sunday matchups. We just talked about Steel Pulse and Patuxent, and we were getting on to Ristosi versus Baltimore Kickers. Any input or any thoughts on these games that you wanted to share
So
before we
this
move over?
so the setup is Ristosian versus Baltimore Kickers.
Yeah, it was a 6-0 win for Ristosi.
Yeah, I think they're going into the game. They'll definitely be favorites. Baltimore Kickers will try maybe to play their hands, but I think Ristosi are. I mean, so far, based on the results we've seen from them, they've been very good, and I think, yeah, they are the
This
favorites,
this
and they
this
should
match
be.
happened.
This one
Yeah,
already happened.
Alfred.
It's the recap.
I thought.
This is the kid who
Alfred,
comes
pay
late to
attention
class
to
and has
the.
absolutely
Well, I mean,
no
at least analyzing the game is yeah. Well, I think give me a second. Let me catch
No,
up.
no, take your time. Take your time. Take your
Yes,
time.
yes.
Well,
You
no.
got the
So,
prediction right though, Alfred. Great work on the prediction.
Exactly. Yeah, you see, I got it. At least
Alfred, we put you in the hot seat. That's my bad. That's my bad. I should give you a moment. We were talking about how Ristosi, obviously with this result, the 6-0 result over Baltimore Kickers, they're sitting at with all three wins in the group stages, a 17-4 goal differential. It was just, I mean, Ristosi is class, and we were just getting reactions from the game. That's all we were done.
So wait, they only conceded 4 goals throughout the 3 games across the 3 games they played. Ah, that's incredibly impressive. Because most teams they're really good, but most teams, especially in this level, they're good, but they still somehow end up conceding goals. Conceding 4 goals
Well, I
in a
mean,
span of 3 games. That's impressive.
I feel bad for Patuxent and Baltimore Kickers because they were kind of like not to say this, but they were kind of like the punching bags of the group because, like, I mean, Steel Pulse was in that group. they ended with a goal differential of 14-8, and obviously
Oh,
I'm just mentioning Ristosi
yeah.
17-4. That just meant it was a bigger goal differential for Patuxent and Baltimore kickers,
Yeah.
which is tough.
What are your thoughts about the because it ended up 5-2, didn't it? The match between Steel Pulse and Toxins. I don't think is that what you guys were expecting.
No, it was an
7
8-2 win, man. They
It wa-
took off. They
it
took
was
off in the second half.
I was watching. It was I think it was close to the end. It was 5-2. It
Yeah,
ended
Steel
up
Pulse
7.
win. There was a red card for Patuxent, right around the half. But
Oh,
in general, the class of Steel Pulse was there. They knew that was a must win. With a win, Patuxent, in theory, of course, they would have gone through. Steel
yeah.
Pulse realized this wasn't one they could take lightly. They brought their players and got to give credit where credit's due.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. All right, let's move over to the next group. The next group, or the next match. I said the next group. Very professional here. The next match, Bullies versus Das Beer Hall. It was a 1-0 win for Bullies Athletics, which sealed their, I was gonna say promotion, their quarterfinals participation. This was the game of the weekend, right?
Yeah, we're talking about Rastosi only conceding 4. Bowley's only conceded 3 through 3 games, and they had to face Christos,
Fair.
in that mix. So shout out to the Bowley's back line. Shout out to goalkeeper leader Austin Hyde. I mean, that's incredible. They blanked Das Beer Hall, a great veteran side. They blanked Team United, who albeit they're having some scoring issues, but that's still a Division 1 side. So kudos to them. They were kind of an afterthought as far as tournament qualification. They came in late, but now they're going through in a very tough group. Credit where credit is due.
Alfred, any reactions on this game, or
Yeah.
just
I mean,
hearing like that's wild, right?
well, in general, I mean, I really was not expecting Bowleys to sort of make this impression they have. I'm gonna be honest, and as I say that,
Love it.
is yeah, you know, I think I made the prediction, and somehow I was like, I hope I'm right, and they've been really impressive. They played against Christos, and it was tight, wasn't it? And they've beaten Team United, and now they've beaten Daspia Hall. I said maybe they belonged in a level that's maybe not in the first division, maybe in the middle sort of division. But I think that's horribly such a wrong take. I take that back, and yeah, that I mean beating Daspia Hall to what's the scoreline 2-0.
1-0.
1-0, man, that's impressive.
Keeping them
That's
scoreless is wild.
yeah, right. As well, preventing them from scoring, not keeping a clean sheet against Dasbia Hall. Yeah, I don't know. Has this bureau perhaps lost a bit of players as well, or is it
I'll
just
tell you, I'll tell you what, they had a full squad as far as I could tell. That was obviously not one of the ones that we broadcast, but I went up to the game. I went to start watching a little bit. They definitely had, their key hitters. They had McKim, they had Brad McKim, they had Ben Goodman, they had Kyle Fowler,
yeah.
Magliano. So I don't think it was a lack of players being there. They knew they had to get the result. It was just Bullies are rolling right now.
They really are, aren't they? I think they really have something going on. Kudos to them, and I hope they forgive me for my horrible take.
Brandon Texador is in the chat. For
Uh,
jokes, Alfred predicted Bowley's not to make it out of the group at the start. That's the leading goal scorer for Bowley's.
yeah, I know. Because I was there when they played Slancha the last time. I think he scored one of the goals when they won 2-0. Yeah,
Yeah, I mean it's an impressive win because we're talking about Das Beer Hall that won the regular season in the
yeah,
Division 1, and then Bullies just got their promotion into to second or to the first division from the second division. So it's very impressive. I mean, Bullies is. I was talking to I can't remember who I was talking to, but they said a statement saying that Bullies is the Cinderella story of this tournament. I think they got 100% on that.
Yeah, absolutely. I can't wait to talk about their matchup with the Hawks. That is the new versus the established power. But I'm getting ahead of ourselves. We
Slow
still
down,
got
slow down. We got to talk about
we
the
got
last
more.
match.
Sorry,
We got to
guys.
talk about the last match here. Obviously, as I mentioned, Team United forfeited against Christos. I much respect. I understand why you did it, but we did have a match in Virginia, which uh, turns out to be it was the last match of the group stage because the match that was supposed to be played between World Class Premier and Los Toros is now a forfeit for Los Toros is getting all the points and moving on. But the match that we did stream and we did watch was North Stars versus Esperion. Uh, any Alfred? Do you want to? I think you called this one right? Yeah, I was gonna
Noah
say.
did call it, but yeah, I mean, I went when Noah told me about the score. I went back to see some parts of the game. Yes.
Oh man, I thought that Alfred, I think you should take lead because okay, so let's line out the situation. North Stars would have been
Mhm.
in with a draw or a win. I think you're
Correct.
giving me credit. I don't think I did predict this, but Alfred, you have a long history. For a long time, you were a North Stars fan.
Yeah.
You've covered them since basically they came into the Super League. I don't want to. I don't want to disparage, but unfortunately for all their successes, they have had these moments,
Yeah.
and this
Yeah.
this was a big letdown because they scored the first goal, and they
Mhm.
were in a position where even conceding a goal, they would have been okay, and
Hmm.
somehow into stoppage time, they've now gone down to 2-1, and so that's why I wanted to give you the floor because you're experienced with this
Yeah.
team.
The last time I think when we were commentating on the match between I think it was Alexandria and Los Toros, you said the line was for me it's a very famous line that Alexandria United are always the bridesmaid, never the bride. I think that can be said even more for North Stars. They're
Mm.
always so close.
Yeah,
I mean, based on technicalities, first season in the VSSL, they were able to make it to the group stage, and then they got hammered by Virginia Dream, and then they sorry, the knockout stage, and then they got hammered by Virginia Dream, and then the next season, almost on the verge of qualifying, they were winning 2-1 for most part of the game, and the last 3 minutes of additional time, they bottled it, I would say, and it's a recurring thing. I don't know, it just something they just can't get past, and conceding that goal. To be honest with you, I think there was a foul first, Noah. There was a
there
foul.
was an
So
excellent advantage played by the
yeah,
center official. Jason Ferrafino went on a terrific run. Made the defense commit. Actually drew the foul,
yeah.
but he was able to get the ball off before he went down,
Mhm.
and he got it. He got it to his teammate who went on and scored the goal. So credit
Yeah,
to
I
them.
think I think in that moment, because there was a couple of North Stars players standing, thinking the foul was going to be called, and it wasn't called. So maybe that delayed them a little bit to react to the situation. But it's just real bad luck. I almost want to feel bad for Daniel, but it's real bad luck, and to not again make it to the knockout stage because you conceded a late goal as well. That's just rotten luck. Now that's oh man, I feel terrible for
And
them.
this is
Talking
on.
about yeah,
Sorry, I was gonna say, and this is on the backs of beating Yings United a few nights prior, like or a week prior.
3-0, yeah.
yes,
It's a
exactly. I was talking about that in
That's
the
what I mean. It's if it was just a team that didn't have any successes, that's one thing. I'm saying that they have these incredible moments, and you liken them to Alexandria United, Alfred. I think that's a perfect comparison because Alexandria United likewise have had their moments. They played Toros really solid. During the regular season, they were the only team to pull points from Dream, and they did it twice.
yes,
But then they also have catastrophic moments when the game is on the line. So two teams maybe that are just on the verge of getting to that next level team, but just it's not happening for them just yet.
yeah.
But
Maybe
credit to
maybe
Esperion.
in some cases, maybe Alexandria have a better excuse. They would say like a couple of seasons ago they played Virginia Dream in the semifinal. You could say it's Virginia Dream. Nobody's gonna beat them. And then they played Los Toros, and Los Toros obviously had the players. Alexandria United didn't have their first team players, so there's that excuse as well. But North Stars, it's I mean, the last minute goals as well. You have to put that into consideration. Does that come down to mentality? Is it like some sort of mentality? Maybe they score a couple of goals and they get complacent that, oh, you know what? Yeah, let's just see out the game. We're going to qualify. At the end of the day, maybe that's something that needs to be checked as well. The mentality of the players, are they really desperate to go to the knockout stages or not? And in this game against Esperion, we saw it. Esperion really wanted it. They saw North Stars. North Stars were there for the taking, and they capitalized on the opportunity that they had.
Which is wild because Esperion went through the gauntlet, right? Because like obviously outside their Aegean Hawks defeat, which was a 4-1 defeat, they tied 3-3 with Yins, and
Yes,
then
wow.
they played North Stars
Mhm.
2-1 to the last minute. I
Yeah.
mean, my props to Esperion for for getting through. Really,
But what exactly is going on with Yins, though?
we
Tough
talk
tournament
about
for
that
them.
they're one of those teams that
Yeah.
that if they go out the night prior, no, I'm kidding. I'm completely kidding. It's a turn of guard, players changing up. I don't know. Like there's a lot of questions to be asked about Yins.
I'll say this also. There was a red card in the Esperion game, so that has to be factored in. I think they had the
Fair.
lead, and then, they had to play with the 10 men for a lot of that game. And then there was a midweek matchup with North Stars. North Stars are very familiar with playing the late 9 p.m. games during the midweek. Yins, not so much. They're a Sunday team. And when you get, that group of players out on midweek, it's an entirely different feel. So I will cut them some slack in those two situations. Still really disappointing tournament showing from them, but there were some mitigating factors at play.
So this is an interesting question. I hopefully I don't send us down a rabbit hole, but this is an interesting question. Still, a red card is to blame for the team, right? Like, because that's
Yes,
technically you're losing control. You're letting your emotions dictate how you're behaving. So, I mean, you can't,
true,
right?
true. No, true, absolutely. It's not. It's not. I said mitigating factor, as in there is something that happened, as in that obviously affected the outcome. It's not to say that's not their fault that it happened. I still think there's questions to be asked, but
Yeah.
I'd be remiss without mentioning that that it happened.
That's fair. That's fair. All right, I want to briefly touch on Morton's Cup, but I do want to mention all the teams that did qualify for the
Yeah.
quarterfinals for the MDV Cup. The teams that qualified for the Maryland division or the Rawling Group A and B is going to be Restosi, Steels Pulse, Christos, and Boli's. For the Potomac A and B is going to be Los Toros, Team Orange, Aegean Hawks, and Esperion. And we're gonna here in a little bit. We're gonna talk about the matchups that they'll have, and we'll pick winners. But I kind of want to turn our attentions to Norton's Cup because Norton Cup does feature some Maryland Super Soccer League teams and a few other teams that are catching the eyes of people.
Yeah.
Uh, do you want me to run through the scores, or are we feel comfortable picking the biggest shocks in the final weekend?
If you want to run through the scores, and also can you run through the teams that qualified for the knockout stage? I just want to give them a nod.
Sure. No worries. So the scores for Sunday, I was gonna say the weekend. It was only one day. For Sundays, it was Anne Arundel County versus Cheverly. It was a 2-2 draw. Baltimore City obviously got the 3 points because Street Footy forfeited. Uh, then you had Moco 1776 versus Blazers. It was a 4-2 win for 1776. A3 versus Silver Springs United was a 4-2 game. That was a good game. Daywalkers, Banfield. I think that was a forfeit, right? Banfield forfeited.
I'm not. I didn't know about that, but
I might be wrong here, but for some reason this is down. It was a 3-0 to Daywalkers if it wasn't forfeit, but I feel like that was a forfeit. Starliners versus Solange. It was a 2-1 win for Solange. Itty had 2-1 win over the Lions, and then Blessed and DMV Stars. It was a 4-4 draw. Teams that are moving ahead is going to be A3 Highlanders, ACFC, which is Anne Arundel County, Moco 1776,
Yeah.
Silver Springs United, Solange Athletics, Lions, Etihad, and Baltimore City rounds out the teams that got promoted or quarterfinals. So I keep saying promoted. I'm stuck in Super Soccer League mode right now.
I have
Yes.
to say, I'm absolutely rooting for Baltimore City. I really hope they go all the way.
Yeah. Baltimore City. Well, Baltimore City, I'll have to say they weren't at their blistering best. They really became Slancha fans on Sunday afternoon after they had their forfeit, and Slancha did get the job done against the tough Starliners teams. Tough for Starliners though. They got knocked out. They were the only team. They split points with Street Footy, and then everyone else got the forfeit. So if you're Starliners, I feel like they're feeling hard done by it. But
Oh yeah, for
you
sure.
know,
Yes, absolutely. That's not fair.
but I mean, it's really
Well,
only the
granted,
fault
hold
of
on. There's a
Star.
caveat there because Slancha did play a quarter of the game against against Street Foot. Technically, they played a half a game against Street Footy, and it was a 4-1. But due to their circumstances, there was a forfeited there, and they ended up just getting the 3-0 victory.
Yeah,
But
Slancha
yeah,
wanted to play. Slancha wanted to play the whole game. They didn't want
of
to.
course. Oh, you missed the drama. You missed the drama, Alfred.
Yeah.
Oh, I did that.
It's all good. It's all good. But any big shocks from the group stages or teams that qualified that stick out to you
In the Morton Cup or over
in the
in
Morton
general?
Cup? In the Morton Cup. In the Morton Cup.
Well, I'm looking here to the list. It seems like it's really most teams. But when you were running up the score, how did Blazers perform in the last match?
They lost against 1776. It was a 4-2 loss, which
Hmm.
Mocha's looking good.
Mocha's
Okay.
looking good.
Well,
Yeah.
at least Blazers, even though they knew they were out of the cup anyway, they still went out
No,
to
no.
play.
They actually could have qualified
Yeah.
with a result and a really strong goal differential. They were not knocked out,
Yeah,
but now they
but I feel like most and any other team probably would have just sort of given up or forfeited the game, but they still turned up. And remember, most of these players actually live here in Virginia, and they have to travel all the way over there. It's like, well, I don't want to exaggerate. I'm gonna say an hour. It's an hour drive there
No,
to
it's like
play.
an hour 30 at
An
least.
hour 30. Yeah, but the last
on
time
a
I said
Sunday.
hour 30.
No?
Not on a Sunday. From me, it takes me exactly 50 to 55 minutes to get from Arlington to say Troy Park on a Sunday
Oh, right,
morning.
right, right. It was in Troy Park. Never mind, never mind. I'm sorry.
If I
My
leave,
mind
if I
again. I was in Owens Mills.
uh, yeah, if I leave later in the afternoon, it can turn a little bit longer, but in the
Yeah.
morning,
Okay.
It's fair. It's fair. You know, it was a surprise for me. Silver Springs United. I was genuinely surprised. This is a Maryland Majors team. Didn't know much about them, but I've gotten to see them, and I mean, they obviously they beat Bless. Obviously, they beat DMV. They only lost to A3 Highlanders, and it was a 4-2 loss. So it's not like it was a walk in the park for a Highlander. So it's an impressive. It's a team to look out for, I should say.
yeah, absolutely.
All right, let's move over to our round table. This is a segment I'm gonna try. I'm gonna list out. Oh, actually, before we move on, I know Noah was like, "Hold on, don't talk about this yet," because he was trying to figure things out. But I'm just gonna go ahead and jump into it. The Rolling Cup was determined by MDV positions, right?
Okay.
So the matchups are online, Noah, now. So they actually drew them. I guess they drew them. But the matchups that are coming for the Rolling Cup is obviously the games are going to be played on March 9th. And there's two matchups. They're going right into the semifinals based on who advanced from the Rolling divisions in the MDV Cup. So we're going to have Ristosi versus Bowleys in MLK Park at noon on March 9th. And then you're going to have Christos versus Steel Pulse at 2 at the MLK Park. Um, I think those are two very juicy matchups. That's why I needed to mention them.
Yeah,
So I'm looking forward to those matchups, to be honest.
yeah. But to be clear, they will have nothing to do with MDV Cup as it progresses. But that's just Maryland's historic Roland Cup competition.
Correct.
For all those curious about, it was just the Roland Cup used the MDV Cup group stage to select knockout round competitors.
Correct. Correct. So, all right, I want to let's move into this segment. It's called Roundtable. I just picked a few teams. I'm gonna ask
Okay.
you questions about, and uh, you're just gonna give me your reactions on these or your thoughts on this. We're gonna start with Steel Pulse, right? The first question I have here, and I'm gonna start with Noah, and then I'm gonna get your take on this, Alfred.
Yeah.
Which Steel Pulse are we expecting for the knockout phase? Are we expecting the Steel Pulse we saw against Patuxent, who went on an absolute crazy run? Obviously, the red card, but still, I mean, 3 goals in I think it was like 4 minutes to win 8-2. Or are we gonna watch a Steel Pulse that we saw against Restosi, where there was some life, but they were just short of being Steel Pulse? Who are we expecting in the quarterfinals? Noah.
I'll say this: it's an away match, so same venue where we saw them against Virginia Dream in the Super Cup Finals, where they really struggled to travel. It's a perfect opportunity to prove that they are a team that can travel.
Yeah.
They aren't only good in their own backyard. I do have questions, but I do have some questions too for Toros. I think um, they weren't at their blistering best against Alexandria United. They just eked out a win towards the later stages of that one. So I think this is a good chance for either side to prove themselves. I do think that Steel Pulse are going to draw their players and they're going to build on their victory from Patuxent. Um, it's really tough for me to pick a victor in this one, but
Hold on. We're not picking yet. We're not picking yet. We'll get to picks here in a second. But just who do you think we're gonna expect? We're gonna see the version against Patuxent or the version against Rostosi?
it's a loaded question because certainly Los Toros are no Patuxent, but I
Fair.
think we'll see the version they brought, yeah, against
Okay.
Patuxent.
Perfect. Perfect.
Yeah.
How about you, Alfred? We
I
expecting we
think
expecting the A side or the working side?
Well, I mean, if history has anything to say with this, I think maybe they would have learned their lesson from what happened when they played Virginia Dream, and this time around probably bring their full squad. But they have to be they have to bring their strongest squad because when we talk about Los Toros, they are a side that has incredible depth. So I think we're gonna see a side that played against Patuxent and they're going to want to dominate the game. So
Yeah.
strongest squad, but not only the strongest squad, a squad with depth as well.
And I'll
That's
say
a
it wasn't
valid point. Go ahead.
the squad that came against Virginia Dream. It was a really strong squad. I mean, you looked at the players, even the depth of the bench. They had plenty of guys, but they showed up late, and the warm up was lackluster. The leadership was really lacking, and they did have some pieces here and there. I think they would have liked to have more ability playing out from the back with their goalkeeper, and in that type of match, you can't have a couple of weak links on the chain. So,
Yeah.
really, are they going to show up on time for a full comprehensive warm up? And do they have the subs? They'll have top notch players. That pretty much is expected. They'll always have at least 8 to 10 really top guys. Do they have the reinforcements? Do they have the mentality? Those are my questions.
Well, that's where I was kind of hinting towards with the question is the mentality, right? Because like I think with Rostosi and the Virginia Dreams that Ristosi, obviously in the beginning of the game, they were just out of it. There was simple mistakes. They were 100% focused. I mean, Ristosi, like Virginia Dreams, showed up super early, got in their prep, and Steel Pulse are still rolling in. So it's like that mentality switch has to change for Steel Pulse. I mean, there's a lot of questions we have for Steel Pulse, and it's probably mainly to do with the mentality. Um, but not to be all negative, right? We don't want to be all negative here because Steel Pulse is a good team, a very strong team. So I kind of want to ask you both, what's your favorite thing for this team? What about this team do you like?
I mean, for me, it's like it's like the sort of galactical effects that they have, where everybody in the squad in every position is absolute quality from the goalkeeper to the left back to the right back, every position everywhere, even the sort of substitutes, every one of them quality. So they have that sort of like Real Madrid when they had Beckham, they had Ronaldo, they had all these Zidane as well. They had all these big players. It's for me, that's the sort of feeling I get with Steel Pulse. So yeah, for me, that's the best thing about them.
How about you know?
For me, it's the fact that they're never you can never really count them out of the game, regardless of the scoreline. From a neutral point of view, such an exciting team. Even when they were down 3-0 with Ristosi, yeah, they lost the game, but they came back 3 goals, and for a brief moment, they had Ristosi quaking in their boots. They had a great response. Credit to Ristosi for
Yeah.
how they responded and got back and punched right back. But Chris Steel Pulse has so much firepower, and I want to call attention to Ramsey Hassan, who's been playing at a
Mm,
super high level. I think he'll have to have a really big game, both in his goal scoring, but also creation. He has the help with Yusuf Nasiri, Diarra Zumana, another player. For his quality, he's been a little bit quiet the last couple games, but he's a player who absolutely, if he can, dig deep and pull out some of his quality, then they have so much verticality. Steel Pulse.
I think I must be in some sort of a way some bad luck for Ramsey because every time I've watched him play for if it's Still Pulse or the one time he played for North Stars or the two times he's played for North Stars, he has not been at his best. So every time I've watched him, so I don't know. So like right now you're saying he's playing at a high level. I'm trying to remember how easy playing at such a high level
y-
because I've seen him and
Yeah,
like the couple of games I watched for North Stars, the game I've watched hasn't been the most impressive games, but maybe I should watch him more.
if you have time, check out the tape from Ristosi specifically, and to some extent Patuxin. He was an absolute magnet to the ball.
mhm.
Whenever he or his teammates lost the ball, I saw him going on 30, 40-yard runs just to get the ball back defensively. And then offensively, he was not only just trying to do his underground footballer tricks. He was
Yeah,
really distributing and really unselfish. It was a totally, and I know what you're talking about. Absolutely,
yeah,
I remember the selfish style of play, and none of that was present. So I think if he's able to keep that mentality and help his
yeah.
team out.
So
A
I
little
guess
bit. It was a little bit. It was a little bit there, but for the most part, I mean, him.
thank you.
No, no, he was. Sometimes the ball, like
Yeah,
the ball, sticks to his foot,
yeah,
but sometimes it shouldn't have stuck to his foot. It should have been passed right. But that's obviously learning lessons and what
yeah,
what have you. But he was phenomenal. I mean, he was on that game. He was on contention for being player of the game. Obviously, Rostosi's keeper just was out of this world.
Yeah.
yeah. Okay.
All right, let's move over to Christos because I think we should mention this team. This is probably the perennial house, the team to beat. I'm thinking. So I'm just gonna ask you. Let's start with Noah because Noah got to watch this team very intimately.
Yeah.
Uh, not too long ago. Can any team beat this team?
Yeah, I mean, right now, there are. I mean, Ristosi certainly have a case. Steel Pulse on their very, very best day certainly have a case. Is it going to be Aspirion? Don't think so. Aspirion, I know we got some Aspirion players, fans watching. Prove me wrong. Put this in your group chat, but no, in simplest form, it's not going to happen this week. Christos are just too good, and until proven otherwise, they're my team to win the tournament. Ristosi close seconds. With a couple other contenders, dark horse contenders behind. But yeah, Christos, they just have done it for long enough where even though they lost to Ristosi last year,
Yeah.
I'm still picking Christos until proven others.
Alfred, any take on this one
On if there's a team that can,
that can beat Christos?
Christos.
I think still Pulse. If of course there's the depth because their depth is quality. They can go toe for toe. I mean, they were winning. They were beating them a couple of years ago, weren't they? In the MSSL. So yeah, I don't think it's not a case where crystals are untouchable. I don't think they're untouchable. I think they're very much touchable, and I think Stillballs have a great chance if they play to actually win.
I will say they added some pieces, and I think those pieces have been huge for them because they're looking a lot faster.
May I? I want to ask a question, Alfred. Have you
Sure.
ever gotten to watch Christos in person?
Like watch them play. I've seen them.
Recently.
Oh,
There is a
recently.
big caveat. Recently.
No, because even like a couple of days ago, I was, man, I love football so much. I was watching the match against, I was when they played Richmond Kickers actually.
Mm,
I don't know if it was it the US Open Cup.
U.S.
I
Open Cup.
went
okay.
Yep.
back, I saw it on Facebook. Yeah, I was watching the whole thing. Very good team. I don't recently know.
Yeah. I just asked because yeah, I want to get you up on one of those games.
You
It's
have
one
to
of
watch
those
it.
things there.
Yeah.
Yeah, they do things just a little bit differently
Different there.
than most teams. Yeah, I mean, I guess it's comparable to the Virginia Dream kind of just
So,
mentality in terms of how
okay.
they know ball. They've got that veteran presence, but they've also got the legs of the young. Kind of they mix it together. It's not like a one or the other type thing. It's not the athletic ability or the game knowledge. They really put it together well. So, but yeah, they're a really strong team.
Yeah, they're gonna be I definitely recommend watching this Esperion game and it's gonna be a juicy match. If it's Ristosi and Christos in the semifinal, I feel like that's injustice. Like that should be a final match. But
Yeah.
anyways, let's talk Los Toros. Los Toros. Obviously they're moving on. They're moving on to the quarterfinals, but they had a shaky game against Alexandria United. You mentioned
Yeah.
it,
Yeah.
Noah, earlier. I'm going to start with you, Alfred. Do How can they shake this form? Are they should they be worried about this form, or do we think they just had an off game and they're going to be firing on all cylinders against Steel Pulse?
I think I think they went in the reason why they had that's such a match against Alexandria United is because they probably went into the game thinking Alexandria an easy side is going to be a rollover or something. So yeah, what I saw in that game was very disappointing. But I think they will match the energy of the team they're playing against.
Mhm.
I saw Jakob Asfar in that game was good, but not as great as he should be against Alexandria United. I saw the same for Jack Stone, didn't have much chances. Good player still. Even Aiden Mahoney, they didn't really get going. But I think they were just sort of like trying to match the energy of Alexandria United. I think it's going to be a completely different mindset when they play Still Pauls. And the result is going to be different. I think it's going to be a very tight game as well. Yeah.
Noah, any
It's
input
going
on
to
that
be
one?
high scoring. It's going to be really high scoring, and I think it's going to be like a game that just bypasses the midfield at times. I mean, yeah, Yusuf Nasiri into the game. Okay, he will lock it down, but they have so much verticality, Steel Pulse and Los Toros with that front three. You know, whoever it is, whether it's Jakob Esfaha, Hamer Diaz, Aiden Mahoney, Tim Sabene, they have so much verticality and Jack Stone as well. They like to get the ball up. So I think if this game opens up with a few goals early on, we're just going to see it going ball across, ball sent right back across. It's going to turn into a track meet, and I think we're going to see goals.
That's
Ah,
fun.
I just wanted to say something, especially relate Team Sabene. I don't know if he's been sort of his role has been limited in the team, but he's the way he plays is definitely not the sort of he doesn't take that sort of responsibility he had as Studiantes, where he would take it's just different. It's when I watch him now, it's sort of like a different Team Sabene from the Team Sabene I used to watch when he played for Studiantes. Is he been limited with the way he play, or has his role changed? Or
Well, it's a completely different team. With Estudiantes, he was the guy, and now he is one of the guys, and it's definitely he can't afford to hang on to the ball in that kind of way. He can't afford to be the same player, always the one who gets to find himself in those crucial situations. So I think he's done well to kind of fit into a spot where he's not always the main star of the show. But yeah, just a different system, in my
yeah,
opinion.
there was just Gio. Yeah, let me just get. There was a situation when you were running back and Jakob Asfaha had the chance to squire him the ball because like there was no one on goal, and you were scrambling to get back. And in my mind, I was like, if that's a Studiantes, the player that had the ball would get his head up and look for Tim Sabene because Tim Sabene was in a promising position to score. So yeah, it's definitely different team, different responsibility, different mindset now. He's not the main man anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. All right. So I'm gonna one last question on Toros before we move to Ristozi. Real quick, can they win this cup? Yes or no, Alfred?
Yes.
Yes, they can. I mean, it's how do I even answer that? I'm not 100% saying they're going to,
No,
but
no,
they
no.
can win
Just
it.
can they? Can they?
Oh yeah, they can. Yeah, they
Okay.
have to. Yeah.
All right. Noah, we already heard your answer. You
Yeah,
jumped the
yeah.
gun.
Mhm.
I'll
All right.
take a
Let's
similar
move
answer to
over.
what he
Let's move over to Ristozi. Ristozi, as I'm gonna set them up because they're. I think it's impressive what they did against their group. They obviously, as I mentioned, they went 3-0, 17-4 goal differential, 9 points. Obviously, they're gonna go and play Team Orange. Do you consider them a favorite in the tournament? Let's start with Noah this time.
A favorite. I mean, I give them slightly smaller chances than Christos, right?
Hmm.
But aside from Christos, yes, I would give them better chances than Steel Pulse, marginally
Mm,
better. But I do give
spicy
them
take.
slightly better. Yeah, yeah. Just right now, based on pure form, it's a team that's really buzzing and they're really well coached and they always show up with a level of a basement of consistency that
Who are you talking about, Noah?
is not
Ristozi.
always seen.
Okay. Okay.
Sorry, Noah. Go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off.
Yeah, you're on.
Mhm.
No, that's it. I mean, I yeah, I give them outside of Christos. Yeah, they'll be my favorite.
How about you? How about you, Alfred?
I mean, based on how Noah is going on about Ristosi, I think I'm gonna back him up because he's watched them and he knows, the quality that they have. I think I'm sort of surprised that Noah is actually giving Ristosi more of a chance than actually Still Pulse. But that means he's going based on form and based on what he's seen. And so maybe at the end of the day, organization as well, because Ristosi have like a certain percentage of,
Yeah.
the players are gonna turn up and everything. So yes, I'm gonna back Noah and says Ristosi on that.
All right.
Yeah,
This is going
it's
to be
not.
a tricky one. I don't know
Mhm.
how you want to answer this one, but does this team have any weaknesses that you're worried other teams are going to exploit?
Ristosi?
Hmm.
Well, youth. I mean, youth is can be both a blessing and a curse. They're
Good answer.
absolutely can compete in those big matches. We saw for a moment Steel Pulse, expose that youth and kind of bounce back in a strong way. They also regained and righted the ship. Ristosi did, um, but I think it did show that they're not invulnerable. At times, they can be exposed, and it'll come down to to some extent their manager and the leadership on the field to how do they respond. Say they're facing a Christos or a strong Steel Pulse, or Los Toros or whoever. How do they respond if they go down 1-2 goals? They've been, at most of the tournament playing ahead. This is going to be a new situation for them to play from behind. And are they able to do it without exposing themselves?
All right, Alfred. Anything to add on that before we move over to the last part of the roundtable focused on the Norton Cup?
I think Noah's covered it all. Yeah.
Sounds good. Sounds good. All right. So this is gonna be three quick questions. Let's rapid fire them. Uh, is Solange the favorite of the Norton Cup? I say this with the fact that they didn't lose any games and they have a very strong goal differential and they just look very good. Obviously, they beat a strong Starliners team.
Mhm.
They got the 3 points from um, Street Footy. Obviously, it was going to be a forfeit, but they were just playing them well in the first half, and then they beat a Baltimore City at 2-0.
Yes. Simply put, yes, they are my favorite. They're to this point they've proven they're the best team in the competition. Coming into it, I thought maybe A3 Highlanders would have something to say. Maybe a couple other teams, maybe Baltimore City, but right now, neither of those teams playing at their blistering best. Slancha, it's their cup to lose in my eye.
Alfred, you align with that?
Yeah, I think forget about even now that we're into the knockout phases. I think actually going into the tournament itself as a whole, in general, I think they were always the favorite going into it. So yeah, I think they're favorites now as well to win it. And unless something really shocking happens, a huge upset, I think yeah, I think they're going to win it.
So I'm going to ask another a question around another Maryland Super Soccer League team, which is Itihad. I feel like this team is flying under the radar. They haven't lost any games. They beat Banfield 6-1. They beat uh, Daywalkers 2-1, and then their final game was against Lions, and it was 2-1. Lions was the runner up to the Maryland Majors, I believe. I might be. I'm either they won or they're runner ups. I can't remember. But I feel like they're a dark horse, and they are going to cause some trouble. Do you guys agree with that?
I agree. Sorry, Alfred, you go first this time. I talk too much.
Okay. I mean, no, since I mean, I've been letting because you're more au fait with. I mean, anybody who's in a knockout is in a knockout stage has a chance. And obviously, Etihad, they've played Slancher, haven't they, Noah? They've played them over and over again. So they're
Yeah,
probably forget. Yeah, you were saying.
yeah. I'm basing. That's why I'm basing Slancha as the favorite. I mean, Slancha
Mhm.
they performed in equal situations in the Super League. Slancha came out far ahead. I think Itihad is playing at a really high level, and I give them credit to go far. But I think as far as a tournament favorite, there can
Mhm.
be only one, and Slancha is my pick for sure.
Yeah, but it's possible as well. It can happen for Etihad because they might have watched them, studied them, and they might just sort of bring a different squad. I know they've registered the players, but some of the players haven't turned up, maybe that are of different quality, might just turn up and give them, if they meet, give them like a game for their lives. So you never know. I mean, as long as they're in the knockout stage, we've seen huge upsets. Like
Let's get
early
to the dance.
2000s, it was Greece who went all the way to win the European tournament, and Turkey as well. This past Euro went all the way. They didn't go to the final, but they played well to qualify for the knockout stages. So yeah, I mean, as long as they're knockout phase, anything can happen.
Just gotta get to the dance. I'm with you, Alfred. I'm with it. Anything can happen on any given day.
Yeah.
I'm with it, Alfred. All
But that's
right,
so easy. That's so easier said than done, though, isn't it?
it is. But
Yeah.
really, let us live in the fairy tale.
Give me
uh,
just one moment, Alfred. You entertain the next question. I'll be back in less than 25
Okay.
seconds.
sure. I was. This is the last one on the Morton's Cup. Is there any other team you want to give a shout out to that you think could be a surprise, or you just are appreciating how well they're performing?
Well, let's see. We have, I mean, A3 Highlanders as well. I actually, I am surprised a little bit that we haven't talked much about them, but yeah, I mean, I love Baltimore City. I want Baltimore City to sort of go on and win it all. But if there was maybe another team I'm backing, it's probably A3 Highlanders, and yeah, because I covered a couple of their games last season, and I love them even when they were losing so bad against Steel Pulse. They kept on going. It was just it's a nice team to watch. So and they actually do stand a good chance as well. So
I
yeah,
was gonna
let's go right in
say,
that. Yeah.
they are performing pretty well. I mean, they beat Bless 3-0. They they lost to DMV Stars 3-1, but it was a close game. But then they ended their group stage against who did they end? Silver Springs United, and it was a 4-2 win.
Yeah.
But yes, I think that's a good shout. No, I was just asking. Obviously, Alfred stuck with Baltimore City and added A3 on there, but he stuck with Baltimore City as another team he wanted to give a shout out to in the Norton's Cup. Do you have any other team you wanna label them a surprise, or just a team to look out for?
No, I think we covered the main ones, and I think it's going to benefit Baltimore City that they won't have to face Slancha because they're coming from the same group. So
Yeah.
I think that this is a good time for them to find their footing, find their full potential, and possibly make it at least to the finals.
Yeah. Perfect. All right, we're gonna do picks now. Now we're gonna actually do picks. We're gonna try to do this rapid fire. I know I wanted you guys to explain reason why, but we've kind of talked about the games, so
Yeah.
um, let's just do a pick and a score line.
Okay.
We're gonna start with the MDV Cup. Right, the first game is going to be at 11 at Cedar Lane, field number 6. It's Rostosi versus Orange. Alfred, let's start with you.
Ristozi 4, Orange 1.
Mm. Noah.
Yeah, I'm going 3-1 for Ristoti.
Yeah, I'm going Rostosi. I'm just gonna go 4-0.
4-0. Wow.
Disrespect, I
The
know. I'm sorry.
disrespect in Oranges. Oh, how?
Disrespect. I know. I know. I just, you know what? I'm feeling spicy today. So we're just gonna go with hot takes today. Maybe not this next one. Cedar Lane, field number 6, Christos versus Esperion at 1 p.m. Let's start with Noah.
Christos 5-0.
Alfred,
I'm gonna say 4-1 as well.
4-1. Okay.
Yes.
Christos though, right?
Yes. Crystal's winning
Yeah.
that.
I was gonna be a little bit spicier to Noah, but I'm gonna agree with Noah. Christos 5-0.
I
5-0.
mean, is there even when I said 4-1? Did you expect me to say Experian are beating Crystals 4?
No, I didn't expect any of us to say that. But anything can happen, right? Anything can happen.
You got to
Yeah,
hold them to it. 'Cause
1-0
then if they
it can
do,
happen. 2-1 it can happen. 4-1.
if they if they pull it off, Alfred's gonna go back and say, "Yeah, I said 4-1 Esperion. What are you talking about?" It's like calling a pool shot. You say, put your pocket, but you don't say what you're gonna do to get it there.
Right, right. I see what game Alfred's playing. I see. That's why I had to clarify. All right, Thomas Jefferson will be hosting uh Los Toros versus Steel Pulse at 5 p.m. Let's start with Alfred this one.
I'm going to say 3-2 for Los Toros.
Mm.
Yes.
Steel Pulse is out in Alfred's world.
Yeah.
Noah?
Testing my
I'm,
luck.
I'm going 3-3, and Steel Pulse win this one in penalty kicks.
Okay, so Los Toros is out in Noah's world. I am going to say, I'm going to back my Maryland compatriots, and I'm going to say 3-2 for Steel Pulse. I was going to say 3-1, but I'm be a little generous for Los Toros. All right, so then the last game on Sunday is going to be in Thomas Jefferson at 7 p.m. Aegean Hawks versus Bullies Athletics. This is a spicy one. Noah,
We
let's start
have to
with you.
talk about this, but just a little bit. Just a little
Go for
bit.
it.
Can
Go
we
for
talk
it.
about- we haven't mentioned the Hawks much. We haven't gotten to talk about this one. I'm gonna take my moment. So this is the young team, the brand new team that just went their way from promoted from Division 2 versus the perennial powerhouse, the team that's competed at the national championship stage,
Yeah.
team that's been to the U.S. Open Cup multiple times, the Aegean Hawks. Oh, it's a tough one to pick. Man, I love
See, this is why he wanted to talk about it. He wanted to give himself time to think about this.
I did want to, yeah. Man, if Bullies can do this one, I mean, if they haven't already proven that they're for real on the top stage, then this has to give them that in. I'm gonna do it. I'm picking Bullies 2-1. Aegean Hawks, I already picked against them once. Bullies better vindicate me, otherwise I'm gonna have lots of laughter from the Aegean Hawks fans, and probably rightfully so.
Alfred?
I've been horribly wrong about Bullies this whole time.
Oh no,
But
the
I,
curse.
I've been horribly wrong about them this whole time. But I don't know what sort of drugs the players are on. It's gonna wear off. Genox is gonna win
Oh,
again. Yeah,
no
I
curse,
don't
no
know.
curse, no curse.
Whatever they're on, whatever they're on right now is gonna wear off. I don't know. I'm not gonna say they're lucky, but whatever they're on is gonna wear off eventually. Yeah, Genox are gonna win. They have to. I mean, they have to win because experience at the end of the day is gonna count. And you know what I'm thinking? Maybe when I watched Bowlies that day against Slancha, it was just a different side. I know you guys said they've added a couple of people, but it shouldn't, the difference should not be so huge. And based on the results that I've seen, the difference has just been huge for Bowlies.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm just gonna say Aegeanox are gonna win 2-1.
2-1, 2-1. All right. I'm gonna write the Cinderella story. but I feel like Noah just jinxed them. So, but I'm gonna ride it. I'm gonna say 2-1, opposite of what Alfred's saying. Bullies.
You're
Has
picking goalies too.
Noah predicted against Bowleys before?
No,
No,
he
I picked
predicted
against the
against the
Hawks.
G and Hawks, and they won.
But
Oh,
I will say I did get it sort of right. That it was more of a North Stars is going to upset someone, and they did upset Yins. I still got it wrong, but
Noah's trying to find
yeah.
any way to be right. All right, let's do the Norton Cup. So the first game is going to be at 11 p.m. or 11 p.m. Oh my goodness,
One.
11 a.m. Cedar Lane, field number 5 is Anne Arundel County versus Silver Springs United. Uh, let's start with Alfred.
Um, I haven't really followed this much, but you were talking something. No, let's give Noah first so I get an idea. Noah, can
Okay.
you go first so I get an idea?
yeah. So Anne Arundel County, they're a team that hasn't played league footy to my knowledge for a little while, but they have a ton of MSI Pro players from the UPSL team. So for that reason, and for the reason that A3 kind of exposed Silver Spring United a little bit in the last last round, I'm gonna pick Anne Arundel in a close fought game.
Uh,
Okay.
Alfred, you want me to go,
Yeah,
or do you? Or you want
yeah,
to
I
go?
can. I'm gonna go for Silver Spring United to one.
He just wanted to go opposite of Noah. You know what? I'm backing you, Alfred, though, because I think Silver Spring is doing something over there, and they're playing very well. I mean, the fact that they beat A3 is
Yeah.
is for me impressive enough. So I'm gonna go Silver Spring, even though they won all their games. All right, and then the other 11 o'clock game is going to be Etihad versus Baltimore City, Howard High School. I'm gonna go to Alfred here because his team is on the line right here.
Yeah. Noah was saying we haven't been at our best, Baltimore City, so I'm gonna say another close match as well. But Etihad should be saying bye bye to the tournament because Baltimore City are gonna win by 2 goals to 1.
Uh, no,
Yeah.
Um, I think this is. I'm gonna actually pick the same way. I'm gonna go 3-1 Baltimore City. I really do think this is where Baltimore City find their footing. Etihad proved me wrong. I just from what I've seen in Baltimore City, they've come up in these big time games in the better position.
I'm really torn here because I'm gonna go Baltimore City just based on their historical matchups on between Etihad and Baltimore. They played obviously in the league together, and Baltimore City got the best of them in the final, the last final that they played together. So I'm gonna go 2-1 Baltimore City.
Okay.
All right. Then the last two games. Let's start with the first game at 1 o'clock at Howard High School. It's going to be A3 Highlanders versus Moco 1776. Uh,
I'm gonna go with some MSSL bias and say A3 Highlanders to Moko Neil.
Noah.
Man, I'm gonna go last. You go.
Okay, that's
This
fine.
conversation.
So I'm gonna go Highlanders. I'm actually Moco is really good, but I feel like A3 is just a notch on their best day, a notch better. So I'm gonna say 1-1 nil A3, playing it safe.
I'm gonna go Moco. As much as I want to pick for the Super League team right now, I don't think A3 Highlanders, even despite that win against Silver Spring United, I don't think that they're playing their best football. I don't think they have. I've seen their players spread out across different teams. I saw them pop up on the roster of Patuxent, a couple other squads.
Yeah,
So for that reason, I'm going to pick Moco 2-0.
2-0. Okay, and then the last game is Noah's favorite to win the tournament, Solange versus Lions at 1 p.m. at Cedar Lane, field number 5. Let's start with Noah. We probably already know who's going to pick.
4-1. You already know.
Four
It's going to be
one.
4
Oh my
4-1.
goodness.
Slanches, they're buzzing right now.
Alfred?
3-0 Slancher, a big win with a
Oh,
clean sheet.
I might as well just have fun with it. 5-2, Solancha.
Oh,
Everyone, thank
you
you
still
for
have them
tuning.
conceding 2 goals.
Yeah, I do have them conceding 2 goals. That's probably disrespect to Solancha, but it's fine. It's fine. Just have fun with it. Everyone, thank you for tuning in. Make sure you hit that subscribe button if you haven't done so already. Share, comment, like, all of the above. We appreciate you for tuning in. We will see who is right over the weekend, and we'll be back next week. Everyone, take it easy.
Bye bye.
Oh, sorry. I'm trying to do the outro, and obviously it didn't go.